It will be another whiteout at Happy Valley on Saturday night, but it's hard to imagine any outage with the Ohio State offense these days. Mark Rogers TV previewing the Buckeyes and the Nittany Lions at State College on Saturday night on ABC. Let's run down the matchup. Let's start with the Ohio State offense hitting on all cylinders in recent weeks. 50 points against a bad Cincinnati defense. 56 last week against Rutgers. They hit up Maryland for 52, and oh, by the way, Kent State 66, if you want to throw that one in there as well. The Buckeyes averaging 56 points per game since the big downer against Virginia Tech. Was that the same football team? Well, it's in the record books. Regardless of what Buckeye fans want to say about this team progressing, it's in the record books, and everybody's got to play the full 12-game schedule, and they all should count the same. But it appears to be a much different team, much different quarterback, JT Barrett. Consider that was his second game. He played against Navy, didn't play that well until the fourth quarter, hit on some passes. Turned the ball over against Navy, even though the Buckeyes won by 17, turned it over against Virginia Tech. We've heard Urban Meyer discuss the Bear defense presented by the Hokies in that game that completely befuddled, confused the Buckeyes and the offensive line. So the offensive line wasn't as bad as they showed against Virginia Tech. Again, the Buckeyes, Urban Meyer and his staff not prepared for that Virginia Tech defense. Let's fast forward through Maryland and Rutgers in particular, because those are the two better defenses that the Buckeyes have faced. And again, they've ripped them both for 52 and 56 points. JT Barrett was the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week last week against the Scarlet Knights, hitting on 18 of 31, 4 touchdown passes, 100 yards rushing, and he did not even grade out as an A by the Ohio State coaching staff, something that Urban Meyer took a lot of credit in. Really enjoyed hearing that, hey, we're grading this tough, that we have high standards. He can be the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week, but he's not met the expectations here. He is pleased with JT Barrett, make no mistake about that. Also pleased with the wide receiver output. This was a group that did not win one-on-one battles against that tandem of Virginia Tech corners on that second game of the season. And that's what they had to do, because Tech loaded the box against Elliott, Barrett, and the running game, the read option, and wouldn't let him throw. And wouldn't let him run, I should say. And then the one-on-one battles had to be won by Ohio State. Urban Meyer said that he wanted to get Ohio State to the point where they didn't have one go-to guy or two go-to guys, a Philly Brown or somebody like that he had his first year or two, a guy catching 75, 80 balls a year. Now he's got a number of guys. He doesn't want the defense to be able to key on one guy. So look at Michael Thomas's emergence. 21 receptions to lead Ohio State, 5 touchdowns. Dontre Wilson, Devin Smith, Evan Spencer. You also see Corey Smith into the mix. And wow, how about Jalen Marshall? 9 receptions for Ohio State for 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. This kid was one of the top rated wide receivers coming out and is exploding onto the scene. So that's like 6 or 7 guys that Ohio State has contributing to the passing game, and they're starting to win those battles downfield against defensive backs, utilizing their superior athleticism, high-pointing the football, out-fighting defenders for the football. Ezekiel Elliott, he looks like a different running back than he did early on. He was tentative. He was dragged down by one tackler. He's a beast now. Maybe not beast Carlos Hyde mode at this point, but Ezekiel Elliott getting the job done, and has certainly separated himself from Curtis Samuel and others. Although Samuel could be utilized in this game, he slashes Ezekiel Elliott, certainly the stronger runner between the tackles. So that's the Ohio State situation along the offensive side. Let's look at Penn State's offense. And despite the Nittany Lions coming out at 4-2, they're 1-2 in the Big Ten. They got the big lift of having the sanctions lifted in regards to postseason play, and they were undefeated at that point. I think it was a pipe dream. I know that it was a pipe dream. That's proven out that they would make it all the way through the Big Ten undefeated. They've lost an ugly game against Northwestern. Then they went to Michigan with the Wolverines struggling to beat anybody. And Penn State could only score 13 points at Michigan, lost at 18-13. Christian Hackenberg coming off that sterling freshman season, making mistakes, errant with a football. The decisions haven't been great, but even more alarming than that is the inaccuracy out of Christian Hackenberg. 59% passer, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he has more weapons this year than he had last year. And in particular, the tight end. And what really hurts Penn State in this matchup, I think more than anything, is the issue that they have blocking up front, protecting Christian Hackenberg. The tackles could be the worst in the Big Ten. They're going to rely on tight ends to stay in. The issue there is that Penn State likes to throw it to the tight ends. We're talking about Jesse James and Kyle Carter, who have combined for 25 receptions. They like to get them into the passing game involved, but they may have to keep them in, facing one of the top defensive linemen in the country, Joey Bosa, and one of the top defensive lines, period, taking into consideration Michael Bennett, a force up the middle, and Adolphus Washington, and about 6 or 7 deep for Ohio State along the defensive front. So that's the biggest mismatch on the field. So if Penn State can get a little bit creative on offense, of course, they've got Hackenberg, who's not a runner. He's mobile. He can move around in the pocket. He's going to have to be very pocket savvy and very pocket aware in this game against Ohio State for the Nittany Lions to have any chance. And then throw on top of it, when we talk about the wide receivers' emergence and increased and improved play in recent weeks, that Ohio State may have the best tandem of tight ends in college football in Nick Vannett and Jeff Hireman. Forget the stats. They've only caught about 15 balls this season. They are exceptional. When they catch it downfield. They're exceptional blockers. They are just in the mix. So nobody's going to catch 100 balls this season for Ohio State, or even 50. But they've got 7, 8, 9 options in the passing game, and that's the way Urban Meyer likes it. The one thing we can say is that JT Barrett is going to face his first real hostile environment. He's only faced the one game he's got 2 games on the road at Maryland, both in the state of Maryland, and of course the opener at Navy. 45, 50, 52,000 for those games. 110,000 where they know college football. They live college football. They breathe it, and they know how to prepare for a night game in Happy Valley. So it's going to be a different environment for JT Barrett, but considering how he's played, and this might have been an issue several weeks ago, I don't believe it will be an issue in regards to his preparation and his performance on the field being rattled by any crowd. But he will have to face the Penn State defense, not necessarily the crowd being an issue, but this is a defense that gives up just 15 points per game. Now, has Penn State faced West Virginia or anybody of that caliber offensively, Mississippi State or Baylor? No, they have not. It's been a weak non-conference schedule. They pulled out a game to open up against Central Florida, 24-23. Probably the best offense they've faced other than that is Northwestern. A decent offense. Michigan's horrible on offense, so Penn State's stats might be a bit inflated defensively, but they're very strong. They're led by, of course, Mike Hull, the fine linebacker, who averages about 11 tackles per game, and they've got a great combination of defensive linemen inside and outside, with Deion Barnes coming from the outside. He's had 3 exceptional games as of late. Anthony Zettel has 7 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. Zettel is the force in the middle for Penn State. So Penn State with some talent as well. The depth not there. Of course, the sanctions have still not been resolved in regards to remedying the depth issues on this football team. And that usually shows up in the trenches, shows up if anybody gets hurt, and it shows up in special teams. Ohio State, after another sluggish start in another unit, special teams, has been much stronger the last several weeks in hitting those field goals, and the punt coverage and the return kickoff return coverage exceptional for the Buckeyes again in recent weeks. This is Christian Hackenberg's chance to be a gunslinger, to pull one out for Penn State. He's going to have to sling it downfield and avoid the rush, and that offensive line is going to have to play the game of their lives collectively. I like the Buckeyes in this one over Penn State. Let's call it 41-24. Buckeyes win it over the Nittany Lions. Would love to hear what you have to say. about the big showdown with Penn State hosting Ohio State. Urban Meyer, James Franklin, Christian Hackenberg, JT Barrett, and on down the line. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Let's talk about it right here on Mark Rogers TV.